Hello everyone, back in December of last year, I released my latest track called Go Nowhere, which was also signed and released on Ensis Discovery. And today I'll be showing you guys how I made the track and just giving some kind of tips. This track in particular was quite different to my usual productions because it was more of a kind of slap house hybrid with kind of trance, future rave sounds as well. And so it'd be quite interesting to show you guys. And the first thing was that I started the track with the vocal that I've got my hands on. Maybe I'll show it to you right now. There's quite a few layers which I created from the original file. If I just saw the whole bus.
I just need somebody, but not just anybody. On me.
That's how the vocal sounds. And as you can see here on the channel bus, there's a bit of an EQ just to remove the low end and shape the sound a little bit more to make it fit in the mix better. There's also fresh air, a really nice plugin which helps it kind of shine through the mix a little bit more. There's a second EQ. Also, there's a de-esser just to clean it up a little bit, some saturation, and then this one is a pitch shifter which I believe is used in the automation on the drop, just to give it that format shift to make it a bit more interesting. And then there's a few gain plugins just to adjust the volumes in the different sections of the song. And in the intro, there's only a few elements playing.
I just need somebody.
So there is a clock effect, and then a few more atmospheric sounds, which this one also came with the vocals, just to give it a bit of the atmosphere. And then there's also a little bit of accent. Again, just to build out that texture, there's two pads playing. But obviously with these, I EQ them so that it doesn't clash with the other sounds. There's very few processing on these ones. But then the main kind of low end section is filled up by the bass. So this is a Reese bass, and there's also sub bass playing as well. There's a little bit of sidechain on the sub bass, just to give it more room in the mix. And then once we get to the build section, there's a bit more sounds. These tonal effects. There's also the lead, which is coming in. Let's see if there's any automation. You can see here. There's quite a few automations on the high cut, but also on the sidechain. As we're introducing the sound, let's just play what is. So this is the main melody that comes later in the second round of the drop. And then we've also introduced some more percussions. So if you just zoom in. So there's a filtered kick, and there's also some white noise, some claps, and also a snare roll. And on the snare roll itself, there is an automation, the high cut frequency. It's actually automated into the region itself, so when I copy it, it comes along with that. And there's a little bit of kind of pre-drop kind of kick fill. I'll just play that for you. And then we switch to a different sum for the bass line, which is more of the typical kind of slap house sounds. Just follow that with a kick. So the main sounds are these two slap house bass made in Vital. I'll show you the other one as well. So they're both slap house kind of sounds. And then MIDI. It's quite simple. And just lift it up a little bit more, we've got a brass sound, which is also made in Vital. There's a few more plugins like OBT to make the sound more kind of sharp and compressed. There's also this reverse sound to introduce kind of each 8 bars. There's a kind of Medusa type sound you would normally hear in their tracks, which is again made using Vital. Obviously all of these will have sidechain on them. And then if we look here, most of the processing is done on each of the different sounds, but then grouped together in one bus. And then percussions are quite simple. We've got kick, clap, and then in the second round drop, introduce more kind of the hi-hats. And then I think in here I did a little trick just to kind of randomize the velocity to give it some movement. So basically you just do functions, knee transform, and then random velocity. This is something I like to do to my tracks to give a bit more of an interesting feel to the drop. And then, like I said before, the melody actually comes on in the second half, with the first half being the vocal. It actually fits quite well with the slap house bass line. That's why the track kind of went in this direction. And there's a reverse sound, and then the melody comes. I'll just show that for you. So actually a lot of people have been commenting on this and that they kind of really love the sound. There's quite a few processing. So obviously there's a bit of EQ. Actually this one doesn't actually do anything. I'm not sure why it's there. This one does all the EQ that we hear. So obviously removing the low end, but then boosting a bit of the high end as well, just to cut through the mix. A bit of a dimension expander. And then we've got OTT, saturation, fresh air, like I said. And there's also delay as well. And then obviously the sidechain. I've used Flux Mini for this. And then for the sound itself, actually there are 3 main sounds. So there's this kind of plug sound that I made, also in Vital, and then there's 2 Future Rave inspired sounds. One has a slower attack, and then one is more kind of sharp, plucky. And we've also there's this sound. Like just a bit of accent on top of that, so to lift the melody a little bit more. And then once we get to the second break, I actually decided to keep the bass line and the drums to kind of keep the energy going. But we changed up, removed the leads, put the vocals back on, and then introduces the kind of the atmospheric elements.
I just need somebody.
And then here we go back to the build-up, so it's quite similar to the first build-up. Start to introduce all the sounds, bit of EQing to kind of build that up, and then I decided to remove the vocal in this section, and we're going to put it back later. So
Don't need you.
But in this drop, I decided to keep the vocal play, and the lead will come in the outro. But there is this sound. The kind of tonal sounds going throughout the drop. And then we get to this third kind of outro build. So this was the vocal from before, and then I introduced the melody again with a little bit of low cut. And to keep it more, to make it a bit more interesting, I actually decided to do a little key change for the third drop, which is not something I've never done before. But it's basically pitched up. I think it was two semitones. It sounded alright, and then all the different elements are pretty much the same. But the only difference being that this time the lead melody and the vocal will actually play at the same time. To make sure this doesn't kind of sound messy, I actually can't remember which way I did it, but you had to make sure that either of the sounds, the vocal or the melody, is the main sound playing. And so I would often reduce maybe the gain on the lead and then cut a little bit of the high end. Actually, yeah, you see here I cut the high frequencies from the lead to make room for the vocal to shine, and that just makes the sound a little bit more smooth, and it doesn't kind of fight with each other. And this is obviously the loudest part of the track, and so all the elements are playing in this section, and then that's basically the end of the track. So it's quite a simple track. It's probably one of the most simplest tracks I've actually made. There's only 61 tracks here, which just kind of goes to show that you don't need too many elements to make a good track. And then, as always, I would have my extended mix following the radio edit of the track. So 16 bars intro, 16 bars outro to make DJing a bit more easier. And that's pretty much it. And that's how I made a slap house hybrid with trance track. It's doing really well on the streaming services, so if you haven't yet checked it out, be sure to check out the link. I'll put it in the description, and stream the track. Thanks for watching.